and be recognized. Thank you. Each year, one outstanding student distinguishes himself as the preeminent scholar in his class, a young man who embodies the Morehouse commitment to excellence in scholarship, a young man of extraordinary achievements. This year, for the first time in our known history, and there have been 123 of these ceremonies, Morehouse College is proud to recognize not one, but two young men as valedictorians, Reuben Gerald Alexander and Darrell J. Bennett, Jr. Reuben, a native of Decatur, Georgia, is graduating with a 4-point grade average, 4.0 in biology. From his entrance into Morehouse, Reuben has been determined to pursue a career in the field of medicine, and he will remember his first week here, he came by my office and told me he was going to be the best student I ever graduated. Right? For his interest in the Morehouse, he has been a product of Thomas Blocker's Health Careers Opportunity Program. He has been accepted into several top-tier medical schools, including Harvard University, Johns Hopkins University, the University of Pennsylvania, Emory University, and several others. Reuben has chosen the University of Pennsylvania, where he will concentrate on becoming a cardiothoracic surgeon. Right. During his freshman year, Reuben quickly established himself as one of the top students in his class. From there, Reuben has maintained an excellent academic record, and during his freshman year, Reuben ventured outside of the medical realm to serve as an intern with Economic Empowerment Initiative, where he mentored youth in making sound financial decisions. Reuben is a Credit Suisse Selective Scholar, an ARC Scholar, and a MARC Scholar. Additionally, he is a member of Beta Kappa Chi Scientific Honor Society, Alpha Epsilon Delta Pre-Health Professional Honor Society, and Phi Beta Kappa Society. Showing a commitment to others, Reuben has served as the Community Service Chair and the Director of the Educational Activities of Alpha Rho Chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha. He has also served as President of the Health Careers Society. With the support of a loving family, great friends, outstanding faculty, and fraternity brothers, Reuben has been able to achieve many successes throughout his matriculation at dear old Morehouse. Reuben, congratulations on your many accomplishments. Darrell J. Bennett, Jr. hails from Hampton, Virginia by way of Baltimore, Maryland. And Darrell, he is a history major graduating with a 4.0 grade point average. Can't do it better. And Darrell has been a special young man. He has come by my office almost every year to remind me that he was going to be valedictorian. Darrell will enter Harvard Law School this fall with a concentration in international law. His inspiration is to leave an indelible imprint on the world as a scholar, statesman, and humanitarian. Darrell's matriculation began with his induction into the Bonner Scholar Program, in which he has completed more than 2,000 hours of volunteer service over the past 4 years. As a sophomore, Darrell wrote a motivational book, Daring to be Different, which has sold more than 500 copies and has been featured on the Tavis Smiley Show. During his junior year, Darrell served as class president. Darrell has interned at both the Georgia State Capitol and Capitol Hill in DC. In addition, he has represented the college around the world at conferences and political missions in places such as the Middle East, China, and Western Europe. As a student leader, Darrell has been recognized by both his peers and the college with numerous honors and awards. He is a member of several honor societies, including the Golden Key International Honor Society, Phi Alpha Theta, Omicron Delta Kappa, and Phi Beta Kappa. Congratulations, Darrell, on your wonderful achievement. Will you both come up?
President Massey and distinguished members of the Platform Party, trustees, faculty and staff, parents, students, and my brothers of the graduating class of 2007. Good morning. Thank you for the privilege to stand before you on such a significant occasion. The grandness of this moment is something that is not seen throughout most of the world. Thousands are gathered in our midst to cheer and celebrate young Black men, not for athletics or entertainment, but for successfully attaining a college degree. We began this journey as young men with the desire to become astute, poised, and polished Morehouse men. Today, dear old Morehouse can smile because she has raised some of the greatest of men in this or any graduating class. Throughout our matriculation, we faced obstacles in our paths. Yet, we transcended the pitfalls to reach the pinnacle of our undergraduate careers, graduation. We had our good times and we had our bad times. We may have even struggled to perform on an exam because we partied harder than we studied. But through God's grace and the prayers of loved ones, we are here today. We have matured into the men who make our parents proud and our institution proud because we represent the mystique, that special power, that imperious excellence for which Morehouse men are known around the world. Class of 2007, as we part ways with each other and with our beloved institution, and as we begin to make our marks on the world, we may be faced with what appear to be insurmountable odds. When that happens, we must tap into the powerful and voracious spirits of excellence that we all possess. We must continue to build a legacy of unequivocal excellence. With that excellence, we can have an indomitable spirit to face the challenges of tomorrow with confidence. With that excellence, we can walk with the pride of kings that the house has instilled in each of us, never accepting anything less than the best. My brothers, be proud of this moment and what we have all achieved. We are now Morehouse men, but understand that being a Morehouse man carries with it great responsibilities. The world is looking at us and expecting even more from us than what we have already accomplished. But thanks to Morehouse, dear old Morehouse, we are more than properly equipped. Morehouse has taught us more than book knowledge. Morehouse has taught us to be leaders, innovators, and thinkers. We are the men who will someday change the world, each in our own way. Some of us as teachers, some as doctors, some as lawyers, some as bankers, or even some as philosophers. Whatever our chosen careers, we will all make a positive impact on the lives of countless others. As I leave you, I want you to remember the words of one of the greatest men to walk these hallowed grounds, Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays. Whatever you do, strive to do it so well that no man living and no man dead and no man yet to be born could do it any better. So I charge you, my brothers, now Morehouse men, to carry on the legacy of excellence that Morehouse herself has laid before us. I bid thee all farewell and Godspeed. Thank you.
Good morning. President Massey and members of the Platform Party, trustees, faculty and staff, guests and friends of the college, and my brothers of the class of 2007. This is our time. 4 years ago, my mother told me something that I'm sure many of your parents and relatives told you as well. She told me that this was my time to step up and be a doer, and that my future depended on what I did. 4 years ago, sitting in a freshman assembly, I was also told to look to my left and look to my right, and that some of us might not make it. Today, however, I look to my left and I look to my right again. What I see are future doctors and lawyers, future activists and scientists and inventors, future visionaries and entrepreneurs. This is our time. In the 140-year history of our illustrious institution, we are the largest class to have entered Morehouse and the largest class to graduate. And make no mistake about it, we will make history. And while the occasion for which we are gathered today is yet a footnote in the pages of our lives, let it be known that the works and deeds of this class, 547 strong, will be written about in encyclopedias and textbooks for centuries to come. This is our time. Just as the heat of the sun can be felt, yet it is thousands, even yet tens of thousands of miles away, our impact as a class will influence the lives of generations yet unborn, in lands yet unknown, in languages yet unspoken. We will bring light to the world until, in the words of Dr. Howard Thurman, service is both our passion and our profession, because we are gifted not for ourselves, but for others. So then we must ask ourselves the question which Marianne Williamson so eloquently asks: who are we then to be great and brilliant and gorgeous and extraordinary? Who are we not to be? We were born to make manifest the glory of God within us. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that the rest of the world does not feel insecure. After all, we joined the ranks of Morehouse men. We are giants, and this is our time. Speaking of giants, you see, a lot of people lost the point in the biblical story of Samson. His hair, the symbol of his extraordinary strength, was actually a symbol of something much bigger. It was a symbol of him standing up and standing apart from the rest. It was a symbol of him daring to be different. But it was when he allowed his hair to be cut that he lost his originality, that he lost his uniqueness, and that he lost his strength. Brothers, we must not let anyone cut off our originality. Instead, we must be steadfast, committed, unshakable. This is our time. In closing, and so It has been said that at the very moment of commitment, the entire universe conspires for our success. So today, we make that commitment. We commit ourselves to the ties that bind one son the other. Dear old Morehouse, dear old Morehouse, keep us, make us steadfast, honest, true to old Morehouse and her ideals. And may we do it so well that, in the words of the immortal Dr. Benny Mays, no men living and no men dead and no men yet to be born can say they did it better. We, Morehouse men, are the giants of the class of 2007, and this is our time. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to introduce our 2007 commencement speaker, Dr. Walter Eugene Massey, a member of the Morehouse College class of 1958. As the 9th president of Morehouse College, Dr. Massey's leadership over the past 12 years has inspired the creation of the academic village, a physical, intellectual, emotional, and moral environment that reflects the true spirit of Morehouse College. The academic village is the unequivocal, shining paradigm of Walter's vision for Morehouse to become among the very finest undergraduate liberal arts colleges in the nation, period. Those familiar with Walter's vision statement are well acquainted with that unforgettable period. That punctuation affirms that when Walter returned to campus as president, he had one clear image in mind for his alma mater, and that he would not be satisfied with anything less. Under Walter's administration, Morehouse has garnered many notable achievements: a historic $118 million capital campaign, the stewardship of a 10,000-piece collection of papers and memorabilia of Morehouse alumnus Martin Luther King Jr., a $13 million state-of-the-art leadership center facility, a new technology tower, the first apartment-style residential facility on campus, the $4.5 million Bonner Foundation grant to improve the culture of community service, a $1.25 million Department of Defense grant in chemistry, being listed by the Wall Street Journal as a top feeder school to the nation's most elite graduate and professional schools, the establishment of the Journalism and Sports program, 2 additional Rhodes Scholars and 4 additional Fulbright Scholars, and 4 Honda Campus All-Star Challenge Championships. Walter leaves Morehouse with an extraordinary legacy of vision and leadership. We who love Morehouse are grateful that he returned to the house. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium our 2007 commencement speaker, the soon-to-be retired 9th president of Morehouse College, Dr. Walter Eugene Massey.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Mr. Davis. There's probably no title I'd rather have at this point than soon to be retired. Well, to the members of the Morehouse College Board of Trustees, to the members of our faculty and staff, to our honorees and guests, to our alumni and friends, to the parents and relatives of our graduates, and most important, again, to the members of the graduating class of 2007, good morning again. Today is a special day in the life of Morehouse College. Indeed, every commencement is special at Morehouse because this is such a special place It really is the only institution of its kind in the world, the only one primarily dedicated to the education of African American men, and the only one where you will see almost 550 young men, mostly African American, earn their college degrees at one time. This makes this a commencement 12 years. And in the tradition of the Academy, outgoing presidents are asked to give the commencement address. It's another special day for me because I've given, I don't know, scores of commencement addresses around the country, but this is to be the first and the last time I will have given the commencement address at Morehouse. Now, I have been told that almost nobody in class remembers what the speaker says, but don't worry, we're going to have DVDs to remind you. You won't be able to get away from this message. Over the past 4 or 5 years, I've spoken to this class in Crown Forum and other places, mostly from my perspective as president of Morehouse College. But this morning, I'm going to speak to you from another part of my life. As most of you know, I began my career as a scientist, as an educator. I was a physicist and physics teacher. And as I retired from Morehouse and an almost 40-year career in science education, I thought I would leave off today with where I began. So this morning, I'm going to give you a short physics lesson. Don't worry, it won't be painful, and you've already passed all your tests. I want to talk to you today about what I call the physics of Morehouse College. And for all the physicists in the audience, please don't tell me that I've oversimplified things, because that's exactly what I intend to do. Physics is the science we use to help us understand and make sense of the physical universe in which we live. And there are basically two distinct languages that physicists use to describe the universe. The first language is what we term classical physics, and it is a very precise, mathematically precise language. It says in simple terms that if we know the specification of a physical event at any time that it takes place, then we can, using precise mathematical laws, predict where that event will manifest itself at any time in the future, and indeed at any time in the past. For example, if we know the location of a particular planet in space at one time, then the laws of classical physics tell us that we can know the location of that planet at any time in the future and at any time in the past. And CAU is trying to tell me my time is up. Maybe I'm going to outwait the clock. All right. That's pretty classical physics. Very predictable, right? The second language, which was developed about 100 years ago out of emerging scientific knowledge of the complexity of our universe, is what we term quantum physics or quantum mechanics. Now, quantum physics says that the universe is not exactly predictable, that it consists of many probabilistic futures, and that a particular future that is manifest occurs only when a thing is actually observed or measured in some meaningful way. So from the standpoint of quantum physics, for example, if you know the location of an electron at a particular time, we cannot predict exactly where it will be at some other point in the future. We can only say it will be more likely to be at some point than another. But we will not know exactly where it is until we actually make a measurement. And quantum physics goes further to say that making that measurement actually determines where the electron will be and what its properties are. In other words, the very act of measuring or observing a physical quantity in a particular way literally creates it, brings it into being, and makes it physically real for us. It's quantum physics. Now to the physics of Morehouse College. You have heard me say before that Morehouse is a laboratory, a living laboratory where for 140 years we have been engaging in a kind of experiment. And I would argue that perhaps unknowingly we have been carrying out that experiment, the education of African American men, from the perspective of quantum physics rather than the perspective of classical physics. The classical physics view of education would imply that just as physical quantities are precisely predictable, that human lives are also precisely predictable. That is, if you know the backgrounds, the characteristics, and behavior patterns of a group of individuals, African American men, for example, at one time, then you can precisely determine where those individuals will wind up in life. But as I said, at Morehouse, we hold the quantum physics view of education. We believe that just as physical quantities have probabilistic futures, human lives also have many probabilistic futures, and that what you know about the backgrounds, characteristics, and behavioral patterns of a group of individuals, especially African American men, does not necessarily indicate where they will wind up. We believe that regardless of where he comes from, regardless of his circumstances, every young man who enters Morehouse, every young man who has the intellect and character to be admitted into this college has the probability, indeed the very high probability, of living his future as a leader in whatever field he chooses. And from our quantum physics point of view, we believe that the particular way in which we as an academic community measure you, our young men, the way we engage you and observe you and interact with you, creates the reality, the final product we call the Morehouse man. So at Morehouse, we live in a quantum universe. Grounded in this universe, a universe in which we have collectively lived and studied for more than a century, we set out 4 years ago to test that hypothesis again. And for this phase of our experiment, we recruited you, the members of the class of 2007. You came from various backgrounds, locations, and you had varying and different degrees of academic and social achievements. Then we established certain measurements for you. We set academic standards and character standards and leadership standards. We told you what Howard Thurman said about the crowns that Morehouse places above your heads and challenges you to grow tall enough to wear. And we told you what Benjamin Mays said about the air of expectancy at Morehouse, the fundamental conviction we have that each and every one of you can succeed, and that absolutely nothing, save your own lack of effort and commitment, can stand in your way of success. But then we carefully observed and measured your growth, your development, your maturation, inside and outside of the classroom. And understanding the power in the idea that what you see is what you get, we looked for what we expected to find in you, and that was excellence. And we have not been disappointed. You see, there's another principle in quantum physics called complementarity. In essence, it says that it is impossible for certain types of events or concepts to be observed or measured with exact precision simultaneously. In much of society, one gets the impression that the idea of African American males and the idea of excellence are non-complementary concepts. Why? Because they are rarely mentioned or observed or measured together. In fact, if you believe what you see in most of the media, African American men are most often associated with failure, not with excellence. But not at Morehouse. At Morehouse, our experience is that African American males and excellence are in fact not just complementary concepts, but ideally complementary concepts. In our quantum universe, Black men in excellence are simultaneously well observed and simultaneously very well defined. And we see it here every day. We see it in you, our graduates, who made the honor roll and the dean's list, a record number this year. We see it in you who participated in the thousands of hours of community service. We see it in you who will go on to some of the finest graduate and professional schools in the nation, yet again demonstrating that Morehouse is one of the nation's top feeder schools to the best and most prestigious business, law, and medical schools. We see it in you who have received numerous trophies and awards and fellowships for your prowess on the athletic field, in the laboratory, and in the debate forums. And we see it in you who have received job offers, and increasingly in the number of you who are starting your own enterprises. We see it in you who will join the Peace Corps, work in community organizations, teach in public schools, and preach to congregations throughout the nation. In fact, we see this complementarity in all facets of you, the graduating class of 2007, the largest class in the 140-year history of Morehouse College. Yes, at Morehouse, in this unique, truly one-of-a-kind quantum universe of ours, we know that African-American men and excellence are complementary because we expect nothing else. And because we expect, we see, and we celebrate excellence in you, our young men. And because we celebrate it in you, we can see it and celebrate it in others also. In physics, as in any other scientific discipline, when you have tested a hypothesis and proved a theory, you have a responsibility and an obligation to share that with others. In conducting our grand experiment about the education of African American men, Morehouse has practiced the best science with outstanding results, and our experiment continues. And we remain committed to providing an outstanding educational experience to young men who follow you. So to this end, we launched this year the Morehouse Male Initiative, a research-based student development model focused on learning what we have learned about how we educate you. And by applying what we learned through this Morehouse Male Initiative and sharing it with others, Morehouse will continue to create excellence for students who follow you, but for those throughout the nation. That's the physics of Morehouse College, making real, making possible what might not otherwise have been. So I'm very pleased that you will be the class, and I'm leaving with you, who will be part of having launched that initiative. And so now to the hard part, and that's really saying goodbye with all of you. It's very difficult to express how much the past 12 years have meant to Shirley and me. Morehouse has not been just a place to work. This has been our home, our community, and our family. We've lived on the campus, literally in the community. When I'm asked what I will miss most after leaving, I say I will certainly miss my colleagues on the faculty and staff, the trustees, my senior administrative team, and the many close friends that we have made here. But I will miss most of all the students. I will miss walking across the campus and having unplanned conversations and interactions. I will miss having students at Davison House. I will miss playing tennis with members of our championship tennis team. I will miss my student office hours when many of you have stopped by simply to visit or to tell me about the grand plans you're making or the challenges or the problems that you're facing. Fortunately, I will have the consolation of knowing no matter where Shirley and I travel or find ourselves, there will always be a Morehouse man somewhere nearby. And that I may no longer be president of Morehouse College, but I'll always be an alumnus of Morehouse, a Morehouse man. So congratulations to you, class of 2007, my last class, and remember to always live in a quantum universe and be the very best you can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Massey, for such an inspiring commencement address. I'm sure that the class of 2007 and everyone in our audience today will be challenged by your call to live in a quantum universe.